it's really not about the money most of the time. It's the fact that they're just not putting it in the shredder.
You worked hard your whole life. The last thing you need is to get played by the system. And with that, welcome to the Insurance Wise Guys, where we bring the sharpest minds in senior living to give you real talk, real answers, and zero BS. I'm your host, Paul Barrett. Let's get into it. All right, welcome to the Insurance Wise Guys. I'm Paul Barrett, the founder of the Modern Medicare Agency. The show is dedicated to helping people basically from 60 to 75 years old make sense of everything that really matters in retirement. Medicare, life insurance, taxes, reverse mortgages, even fitness and nutrition. No jargon, there's no sales pitch, just an honest, real conversation with professionals to give you all the information you need to make the best decisions in this chapter of your life. All right, so today we're going to talk about something that most of you have never heard of, and it could put real money in your pocket. If you've got life insurance policies and you're thinking about dropping them, or you can't afford the premiums anymore, stick with me for a few minutes. My guest today, guys, Jack Davis. Jack has spent over 40 years in this industry. He is a U.S. military veteran. He wrote a couple books, Knowledge is Cash, because he kept watching seniors walk away from their life insurance policies for pennies or nothing at all, when they actually could have sold that policy for real cash. It's called a life settlement, and almost nobody in the insurance world talks about it because, frankly, it doesn't benefit most of them to tell you about it. Jack, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Paul. Really appreciate you having me on.
Appreciate you being here, Jack. I know I run into a lot of these conversations with my clients throughout the years. They constantly call me and say, what should I do with this policy? I just got my new premiums. You know, they get the term policy, the 20-year, the 30-year, and all of a sudden, boom, you know what happens when they get that final. And everybody just thinks we got to drop it. And you and I both know that's not correct. So let's start out real simple. What is a life settlement in plain English for someone who's never heard of the term, Jack?
Plain English, Paul, it's think of it as an asset. Your policy is an asset, not a liability. And you may have the ability to sell your life insurance policy based on a couple conditions. You're 62 and over generally, and $100,000 face amount and higher. However, if you're ill, that 62 age limit changes and gets lower. People don't understand as you age, we lose a spouse often as we get older, or the kids are older and they're successful. They don't need the money. So people cancel their policy. It happens hundreds of thousands of times a year. They're unaware that that's an asset, and they could possibly sell it for tens of thousands of dollars.
Right. So that basically answers my next question as well. I was going to mention that a lot of listeners that I have are on fixed incomes. And I find a lot of the middle class folks, they have these policies tucked away. They don't know anything about the fine print. And I was going to ask you, why do you think they end up walking away? But I think we've already said it. There's just not enough knowledge. And, they're afraid of the premiums. The new notice comes after their payment for the last month of their 20-year term, 25-year term, whatever it is. Or even if they have whole life or universal. I've had people drop those policies, which blows my mind. So let's get into the next question. What's the difference between just letting a policy lapse and selling it? Because I don't think people still understand what you just said. How do we even know if they're going to have a choice, Jack? How do they know?
That's the question here. How? They can go through me, of course. They could go through another person like me to do a life insurance evaluation review. It's free. It's just some paperwork. I ask them questions over the phone, contact their insurance company, get some paperwork from the insurance carrier. And I work with a company directly that has 40 different institutional investors, 40, that will examine that application. So we're not a one-trick pony. Those investors will look at that application and decide if they want to make a cash offer. They'll come back to me and say, Jack, we'll offer X. I'll go to the client, Mrs. Smith, they've offered you X. And she accepts it or she doesn't. If you lapse or cancel your policy, you're getting nothing other than maybe if you have some cash value in it, That's fine. You'll get that cash value back. But the life settlement will offer you the cash value plus on top of that additional cash. So there's nothing, no way you should cancel a policy or lapse it without reaching out to me or someone like me because it's free. The review is free. You have nothing to risk.
Hmm. Yeah, I think one of the problems is, as an insurance agent myself, I don't have the vast knowledge you do about the life insurance section. Haven't done it in years. That's complete transparency. But I think a lot of us get a bad rap because what do we all offer? A free policy review. And I think that there's so many insurance agents that are not long lived in this business that give us this bad name. That's one of the reasons why I really wanted to have you on the show, because anybody that's doing this for 40 years is doing the right thing. You can't possibly be in business doing this type of service if you're not doing the right thing. You're not chasing people, making phone calls for leads, right? Most of your business, I'm assuming at this point of your life, probably because people are like, hey, you should talk to Jack. This is what he did for us. You get a lot of referrals. Am I right?
Yeah, I mean, I have customers that are 30 years ago I wrote the policy. So, Paul, I think every listener now, even more so than ever, are sick and tired of robots. I mean, when people get my cell number, I will pick up, or they'll get my voicemail, of course, if maybe I'm on a tennis court. But people are sick and tired of robots. We all get them every day. They all sound so friendly, but then you realize you're talking to a robot. My clients text me and call me and email me, and they're happy to talk to me because they know they're getting me. Now, I'm not saying I'm better than anyone else, but we've all had those phone calls where you're talking to a call center and you hear chickens and roosters in the background. You say, I'm sorry, where are you? And they go, oh, I'm in the Philippines. We've all done it. My customers know I've been around since I was young, not young anymore. They trust me. Most of them like.
Yeah, yeah, very well put. The industry has a lot of issues with just trying to get sheer volume sometimes. And that's what makes the true experts like yourself struggle sometimes when you first meet somebody. That's why I like to have people like you on the show. Once again, not so we can sell people, but so we can educate people. Hopefully, at the end of the show, we'll answer a few more questions and people can say, you know what? I have a policy, and I honestly just had a phone call while I was in Iceland from a client that was asking me about their policy. They just got a huge premium, so we can possibly introduce each other to somebody after the show. But it just surprises me how many times people tell me I just let these policies drop. Now, who typically qualifies for this? I know you said usually someone around 62. Does it matter if it's a 10-year term or a 25-year term, whole life, universal life? What are you guys mostly looking for as far as investors? I should say, not you particularly. You're looking to help people. The investors are looking obviously to make money, but also at the same time, they're looking to be fair and give somebody a way out of these high payments that they weren't going to be able to afford.
Paul, there's several variables. Age is one, again, 62. Death benefit, again, 100,000 and up. It could be whole life, universal life, index universal life. It could even be term insurance that can be converted. So, again, the reason we do a review is to get the details. How healthy is the client? How much time is left in the policy? What type of policy it is? What is the cash value? So I can never say, hey, it's this type of policy is better than that. That's why we do the review. They look under the hood, check out your engine, and then they'll offer or not. But you're not signing anything. You're not saying I lost ownership. I've lost control. No, no, no. You have total control. You are the owner until the day you accept the offer. And then when you accept the offer, then things change as far as policy ownership. But let me tell you something, Paul, that you probably will be shocked to hear, even as a veteran in this business. If you have a cash loan outstanding, you cannot cancel that policy without paying that loan back. So if a person is getting, let's say, $200 a month premium, and they're like, man, I just can't afford it. My husband passed, etc., etc. I want to cancel. I'm like, ma'am, you can't until you paid back that loan because they gave you that money 20 years ago. So if you have a $30,000 loan, you are stuck. So if you can sell the policy, that will ideally negate the loan, hopefully net out some cash, And then, of course, you wouldn't have to pay your premiums anymore. And not many people are aware when you have that loan, you are stuck.
Wow, you definitely got me there. I never heard of that. So, what happens if, God forbid, they can't make their payments and they have that loan? Is that something that's going to show up on their credit report? Is this something that could affect them financially in other ways?
Yeah, I don't get into the accounting just for legal cover my, side, but they're going to have a problem. The insurance company is going to want that loan paid back. Well, let's leave it there as far as that topic. They're going to want their money back. They gave you that money, just like a bank loan. They want the money back.
Right. So essentially, if they could find a partner like yourself that gets an investor involved, they kind of get like a mortgage bailout, so to speak. They pay off the debt,
Sure.
and maybe they get a few extra bucks.
Yes.
That sounds like a pretty good deal. Win-win.
Paul, it's a solution to a problem that they don't know it's available. Let me tell you a number real quick, not a lot of statistic, but last year in 2025, there was about 2,950 plus or minus life settlements done. 2,900. You know how many policies were canceled? Millions. And you know why people don't know about this? Because the insurance company does not want to pay the death benefits. They want you to lapse it.
Of course. I mean, as an agent, I know this. You know this. They love it because most people, when they get their first renewal, they're like, whoa, I'm not going to do this. I'll look for another policy. Maybe I'll get a smaller policy, but I'm definitely not going to pay this ridiculous payment. Right. And they can get a better rate if they start it all over again, which is the wild thing. The insurance companies are smart. If you last 20 years, we know that there's a good chance if you extend this policy, we're going to have to pay out. So we want to make it so obnoxious for you. You're not going to do it. Move on to the next. Or you pay us so much more money, we can't lose anyway because you're basically paying your own death benefit. It's a crazy win-win for the insurance carrier if you're ignorant on this.
Yeah, it's all about knowledge, and that's why my book is called Knowledge is Cash. I believe if you educate people, and not that people are dumb, it's just they're not aware of it. So my book is free, and it explains what we're discussing, and they can read it in the comfort of their own home and make their own decision.
Yeah, I was perusing it when I was on the airplane last week, and I got to say it's very easy to read. If anybody wants to download these books, I will make sure that we have the links set up for you in the podcast so you'll be able to do it. And it's definitely worth the read. I mean, great information, and it's not going to take you months to read. A few days, few hours, depending on how good you are reading, you could be done with it in a short amount of time with a lot of knowledge to walk away.
Yeah, it's not Atlas Shrugged. It's an easy read. You can read it in an hour, hour and a half, and at the time you read that could make you 10 or 20 or $30,000.
And that sounds pretty awesome to me. So let's walk through a real life example. You don't have to give me any specific names, but share a story of somebody you helped out. Doesn't have to be recent. Any of your favorite stories so people can get an idea. I think we're talking about something that people are probably saying, this is too good to be true. Doesn't sound right. And the generation that we're targeting, it's too good to be true. It probably is basically the mentality, right? So walk us through a real life example, please, Jack.
Well, first and foremost, they can Google anything about life settlements. Everything I say here is factual. It's not too good to be true. It's a fact. You can sell your life insurance policy. With that said, I had a client call me several months ago. Hey, Jack, I'm Mrs. Smith. How are you? I'm good. Her husband and her decided they didn't need the policy anymore, and the premiums were starting to, be a drag. It's like, we don't really need it. We don't really want to keep paying these premiums. Can you give me the paperwork to cancel the policy? I said, yeah, of course I can, but can I ask you one question? She's like, yes, for sure, Jack. I said, have you considered selling the policy? She's like, what? I've never heard of that. And I just chuckle because no one's ever heard of it. Long story short, she did the paperwork. She got a nice check. And honestly, the money wasn't even the thing with her. It was the
Very
fact
simple.
that
Let me ask you this. A lot of people probably wondering, what does that paperwork consist of? Is it a lot of paperwork? Is there anything crazy involved?
No. We do some paperwork. I ask you some questions over the
I know
phone.
you mentioned something about age. You mentioned something about health. Do they have to answer health questions? Is that part of it?
I ask you some questions over the phone, and we reach out to the insurance carrier. It's probably 15 to 30 minutes over the phone. I'm not coming to your house. Paperwork is simple, and then we take it from there. There's no medical, there's no physical involved, anything like that.
Perfect. Sounds like it's pretty seamless. So, what about if someone's been told their policy is worthless or not worth much by an agent? Uh, how do you feel about that? Should they double check with somebody like yourself or another agent? Do you recommend double checking? Do you find that's really a good way to go? Because I have never met anybody that said they have 42 different investors that do all these different things. I've heard of this stuff before. I've had people approach me about it, but usually they're looking for almost like they're like State Farm. They want the perfect client and they stay in that lane and that's it.
The thing, Paul, is if I take an investor, I take a policy to a single investor, he could be having a bad day, or the client just might not be the type of client he wants. When you take that to 40 investors, it's just logic. You have much better chance. You might get two offers. So it's just common sense. 40 people walking in to buy your house versus one. What would you want to do if you're selling your house?
Great analogy. I can appreciate that. The law of large numbers always wins in those situations. More options, more offers is always better than one offer, right? You're never going to know unless you ask multiple people. So that makes perfect sense. So now, what's the difference between a life settlement and a viatical settlement? And
Viatical settlement is someone who's ill, perhaps within less than 2 years to live. So their payout will be much higher than a life settlement is generally a person who's mostly healthy. Don't have to be healthy. You're not applying for life insurance. But a viatical is someone who could be on their deathbed and they have a 2-year window with their life. So the payout, the offers are much higher because the investors know you're going to pass away.
gotcha. So that makes sense. They know their lottery tickets coming in sooner rather than maybe Mrs. Smith lives to be 104 and
Right.
die before the policy actually uh, comes through. I got
Correct.
that makes perfect sense. And honestly, I never knew that. I always thought they were one and the same. So I appreciate you clearing that up for me.
No worries. And the book explains all that so people listening don't have to take notes. They can get the free book. It's online and let them read it on their own.
Yeah, that's really one of the things that attracted me to you when I saw online. All you do is download the book. I did it. I haven't gotten any solicitations. Nobody's robo dialed me. I'm not getting spammed in my email box. It was a pretty simple process. And I think there's not enough of that. Like you understand, and I think I do too. People are tired of being sold. Let me give them the information. They'll know that I gave you the information. I did my best to answer all your questions and for free. So if you actually want to take a step forward, I think that makes you more likely the guy that people are going to choose because you're not pushy. I couldn't find a bad thing about you online. And I look every time I have a guest, I want to find something bad, find a reason not to have you on the show, and you're spotless.
Well, I will say, full disclosure, I do send some follow-up emails just to remind people what their options are. And of course, they can hit unsubscribe, but it's 5 or 6 follow-ups over a period of 2 or 3 months. And it's just to let them know that I'm there if they have any questions, because people can get a book today and 2 weeks later something happens in their life and they forget. So it's just to remind them. But no, I'm not going to call them. I don't have their phone number, so I'm not going to be calling anybody.
Right. And that's really a good segue into what I said. I did get a follow-up email, but it was so passive. No, it really was. I mean, I think a lot of people prefer until they get really comfortable to ask a question or two, maybe through email. Next thing you know, you're on the phone and you made a new friend and you're helping somebody out.
Exactly. I'm a very non-threatening salesperson. That's why I give the book away, because I want people can read my book and say, "Wow!" Not they can call someone else. I mean, I won't know it.
Sure.
They can do what they want. I hope they call me because out of respect and educating them. But of course, it's always on their own.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. So now, what should somebody watch out for? Are there people out there who are actually going to try and lowball a senior in this type of situation? Or is this like a standard thing where almost everybody's giving the same offer?
Well, they're not. There's a lot of people out there that will take this to 1 or 2 investors, and I'm telling you right now, that's the key, because you have to understand the investors looking. Some investors are looking for a certain type of insurance policy, and that client who takes a policy to them might not fit their parameters. So when you have 40 different investors, you are going to fit one of their parameters more than likely, as long as you hit the requirements. So again, that is the key. There's a lot of people in this business that take an offer to one or two funders. I don't subscribe to that. I like the company I work with, and they are huge.
Yeah, and I think that makes more sense for you too as an agent, right? Because there's a better chance of you coming back with an offer for somebody.
Oh yeah.
It's kind of like being a broker. That's why I mean, people always ask me, what's in it for you if you don't get paid? And it's a free consultation and all this other stuff. You're trying to sell me something. Really not. I don't want to sell you anything. And I don't think you do either. You want to provide the best solution. So you are a great guy and you introduce them to money that they never knew they could have and the most money they can possibly get because that makes them a happy client. And if you have a happy client, you get referrals. It's the same in my business. I try and have as many carriers as possible so I could always speak intelligently about all the carriers and never want, I don't want to push anything on anybody because at the end of the day, a happy client is a better client, right? You like that plan? Great. I'm going to tell you the pros and cons about it. You still want it? I'll help you do it. And when you have a problem, I'll be there. If you don't have a problem, guess what? Just like you, we're still here. So that's wonderful to hear. Uh, as far as the policies and the offers, all these things, are just amazing for somebody that's sitting on these policies. I think in the last, I don't know, 3 months, I've had 4 different people before I started looking for someone like you to do the podcast that have mentioned to me, I was just paying $125 a month and now I got my renewal and it's $375 a month, and the policy's only $200,000. Should I keep it? What should I do with it? And, here I am trying to ask Claude or ChatGPT and Google, and I'm like, I can't get involved in this. I got to find somebody that can answer these questions. And I'm astounded by the amount of policies you told me were actually purchased versus canceled. I mean, what a racket. That is amazing to me.
Paul, the insurance company is never going to send you a letter that says, "Dear Susie, we want to buy your policy." Never going to get it. They don't want to buy your policy. They want you to cancel it.
And for guys like you, I'm just trying to figure this out because I have gotten solicitations from people that have reached out to me to offer their services. And I'm usually not the type of person that's going to take a phone call and be like, "Oh, great, you do life settlements? Sure, I'll send you all my clients because I don't know who you are. You called me out of the blue and everything sounds great, but you're trying to offer me money for this. I don't want money for it. I want to know if I say, Jack, here's a client that's having this issue. They can't afford their policy. Please do your best to help them, that you're going to do exactly that. I believe in saying what you mean and doing what you say, right? Simple stuff. I don't want to get compensated for a job I don't do. I'm happy to refer my clients and always get the right information. And it seems like in this situation, you seem to have your act together better than most life insurance agents I started speaking to recently. Not to blow you up and make you feel great about yourself. You've been doing it for 40 years, so I expect this of you. But I spoke to 3 different people that do the same exact thing, and they each one of them had like a pitch. It was a pitch. It wasn't a real conversation. It's very hard for people that are 60 plus years old to have to sit there and be sold a very uncomfortable situation. So it's very appreciated. If someone's listening right now, they've got a policy sitting in the drawer, they haven't looked at it in years. What would you say their first step is, Jack?
Well, of course, with your permission, can I get some contact information?
Absolutely. I think that's fair.
Okay. Well, first, they can call me or text me right away. 727 735 3200. They can go to knowledgeiscash.com. Again, knowledgeiscash.com. Put their email in, they get the PDF. They can read it. My contact information's in there as well. And then if they don't want to call, some people are afraid to call people. They can email me at info, at my name, which is jackddavis.com. Info@jack, D as in Delta, Davis.com.
Awesome. So when I'm done with this, I'm going to do a little blog post on my website. I'm also, for everyone listening, I'll have all these links for you if you want to go check out Jack's books. If you want to call him directly, email him directly. One thing I could say, I've texted you a couple times, and even when you were busy, you gave me a response pretty quickly and said, I'll be free blah, 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 which is great because you had no idea who I was. My name's not in your phone. So that is something I can tell everybody out there. Don't be afraid to shoot you a text. You will answer. And you're about as passive as I've ever met when it comes to life insurance agents. Most have this very hungry mentality and look at everybody as their next commission check. And obviously, we all want to get paid, but not to screw people. We want to help people. And I'm so glad that I met you because this is a really wonderful business that you're in. It's very rewarding from everything I've read online and things I've seen in your books. Like, how great would it be to have a $500,000 policy that you can't afford? And you find out that someone will give you $175,000 for it to walk away,
Yeah.
and boom, you're out of those payments, and you have cash in your pocket. I think that's amazing. I really do.
Well, just one thing I want to add. I'm 65. So when people call me in their 60s or 70s or 80s, first of all, I always respected my elders when I was 10. But now that I'm one of the elders, I'm certainly going to respect people. So they've been paying for 20 or 30 or 40 years. Okay, that's personal to them. That's a policy. It's personal. So, of course, I give them the respect they've earned for keeping that policy. And they love, again, it's really not about the money most of the time. It's the fact that they're just not putting it in the shredder.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, like you said, you just got to find out, and asking is not going to cost you anything. Having you look at it, or having somebody that does the same thing as yourself look at it and at least get an idea. And if you find out, now you know, people out there that are listening, if the person tells you they work with 2 or 3 investors, you got somebody that we're talking to right now that has over 40 investors,
Mhm.
right? So you definitely want to talk to somebody and ask specific questions. Before somebody was going to do business with somebody besides yourself, Jack, what are a couple of the questions that you would want to ask this type of insurance agent?
Well, I'm a little biased. I'd ask how long they've been in the business because
Yeah.
that matters. It matters. A lot of guys work for a company where they have a quota and they got to hit their numbers or they get out. I've been independent for my entire life. And the reason is I don't want people telling me what to do and that I have to sell this number a week. That's not how I work. I can't work with that pressure. I sell people and people buy things because they need it, not because I want it. And that's the difference with me. If you don't need it, I'm not selling it to you. If you walk into a bake shop and you want a chocolate donut and they only have vanilla, you're not buying. So I only work with people who need, and I make recommendations based on their needs, not based on me. What I want doesn't matter. People have a problem, I help them try to solve their problem.
Yeah, awesome. I wish more people did that. I mean, you and I both know the more people you actually help, the more money you're going to make anyway. So it's really should be that simple. Help as many people as possible. Treat people awesome with respect, and it just comes back to you. So last question before I let you go. What's the one thing you want every person listening to today to walk away with?
Well, sorry, I got a little cold. Um, One thing is please never cancel or lapse your policy, please, without calling me or someone. Just don't do it. They may, it's worth the time. Okay, just please do not do that. Just take a look. This is not a gimmick. This is real, real cash, real payouts to real people, and it's not 100 to 1 odds. I mean, there's a good chance you'll get an offer, but you will have no offers unless you at least try and do a little bit of paperwork. And then my second point for the non-elderly people here is if you have kids in your house, please have at least a $500,000 term policy on yourself. Just do it. It's so inexpensive, and your kids will thank you. And that's my second book that I've written in the last came out 2 weeks ago. We're not here to discuss that one, but you and I can talk about that off the air.
Yeah, absolutely. I find that very interesting too. You and I had a conversation offline about the GoFundMe's and all these other things that happen. And I know I said that was my last question, but uh, you know, the main thing that I think that I would like everyone to take away from this, that you have options out there that you don't even realize. And as humans, we take the path of least resistance a lot of times. It's time in this age to start asking questions. So, as I wrap up the show, if you are out there listening to the show and you have questions about your taxes, about your life insurance, about being fit and functionally healthy, if you want to learn more about Medicare, you want to learn about real estate, should I downsize, all these different topics, we cover them. And if you have something out there that you want me to cover, we'd love to hear it. So drop us a note. That's it for today for our episode of the Insurance Wise Guys. Jack, thank you so much for joining us. I really enjoyed everything you shared with us. And I think we'll definitely have to get you back on the air again because this is something that needs to be repeated. We only have so many listeners each time. So if we repeat it a few more times, maybe we'll be able to help a few more people down the road. Thanks again, Jack. Appreciate you.
Thank you, Paul.
And that's a wrap. Another episode of the Insurance Wise Guys. If today's conversation made you think, good, that's exactly the point. Share this with somebody who needs to hear it because the best thing you can do for people you care about is make sure they have the right information before they need it. I'm Paul Barrett. Stay wise, stay protected, and we'll see you next time.